Hello peoples and popples, and welcome back to my channel. I'm Fiction&Flora, you can call me Flora, and today we are doing a book haul. So today I'm going to be sharing with you all the books that I managed to accumulate either through purchasing or being gifted them in 2025. They're not going to be in order of when I received them, mostly because I accumulated them over the entire year, so I actually don't remember when I got them. Instead, what I'm going to be doing is separating them between my digital and physical books that I recently got. I say recently, books that I received, and then also between books that I still have yet to read and the books that I've actually already completed. If you're hearing jingling in the background, that's one of my cats, so she's fine. So let's go ahead and get into it. We're going to start with my digital books, and I will also tell you about the 2 unread books that I have on this list. Oh, did I mention that I managed to read most of the books that I purchased this year? So I have about 31 books on this list, I believe, and of those, only 10 of them are currently unread, and I'm hoping that number will be smaller by the end of this week, so you know. All that to say is, here are the first books on my digital list that I still have yet to read, and it's only 2. So the first one is Tree of Aeons 7 by Spazler, and this one is the 7th book in the Tree of Aeons series, which follows a person who died in our world and was reborn as a tree in a fantasy world where once every 50 or so years they're attacked by a demon king, and humans are summoned from other worlds in order to fight this demon king. I feel like if you've played any games before, you've probably heard this before. This is a lit RPG. I've talked about it a few different times on my channel, at least this series, not necessarily this book. I haven't gotten around to it yet just because it is the 7th book, and I have to remind myself what the 6th book was like ended, so I probably need to read like the last 2 chapters of the 6th book so I can catch up and like refresh my brain for the 7th book. Also, these ones are really long, they're like 700 pages a piece, and they're really dense, and they have a lot of things going on. And with, again, have you seen what's going on right now? I couldn't have that much complexity at the time that I got this one. The other one that I haven't read yet is Reborn as a Demonic Tree 7, which is another book about a person who died in our world and was reborn in another world as a tree. But this time he's a demonic tree, and what that means is that he can gain powers and like eats flesh, so like humans and monsters and animals. And this one, instead of being based on European fantasy, is actually based within Chinese cultivation mythology. And so it's got a lot of breathing techniques and things like that. And I really enjoy this series. Again, the reason I haven't picked it up is because I need to refresh my brain on what happened in the last 6 books. So I am planning to get around to both of these within the next month or so, and I'm very excited because I do really like them, and I've been really into my lit RPG in the past year, so probably 2026 will be much of the same. So those are the 2 I haven't read yet, and let me tell you all about the ones that I have read. And all of these are lit RPGs because, like I said, I've been in a mood. So the first one is Dead Tyrant 3, which is the 3rd in the Dead Tyrant series by Raven's Dagger. And this is a series that is following a necromancer who took over the world at one point and then took a nap and then was awoken by an adventurer into a world that was very changed from when he went to sleep. And he's just going around looking at stuff, trying to get some of his power back. It's actually very, very funny. I really enjoyed it, and I will be continuing on this with this series, though I am going to start trying to buy the physical copies of all these books because I do not appreciate that I don't actually own them. I only own a lease to read them. This is the reason why I prefer physical copies of things, because what do you mean I don't own this that I spent my money on? You know what I mean? Anyway, I'm going to be continuing on with this series. Earlier, I also purchased Reborn as a Demonic Tree 6. That was the 6th book. And then I got the audiobook for Death, Loot, and Vampires, which is a lit RPG that I purchased at the end of 2023. And then I wanted to listen to the audiobook. I can't remember why. And In addition to that, I also bought the sequel, Magic Academies and Vampires. These are both written by Benjamin Carey, and for the audiobooks, they're narrated by Travis Baldree, who wrote Legends and Lattes. And they're about a guy who is transported from our world into a fantasy world where he ends up being turned into a vampire against his will, and it's just his journey to, one, figuring out where he is, and also trying to find his wife and children who were also transported to this world but separately from him. The next one I purchased was Reborn as a Dark Lord, and this is about a person who was from our world and transported to and actually there was a ritual that switched his bodies with the demon lord of this fantasy world, and he's like, absolutely not, I do not want to die in this man's place. And so he runs away and opens a tavern with a goblin. I feel like a lot of these, listen, I didn't read them all back to back, so hold off on your judgment of my lit RPG. I have the loudest washing machine on earth, I swear to God. Oh, and that one was written by Timothy W. Long. Right, moving on. The next one I purchased was Nightmare Realm Summoner, which is by Actus. And this is about, I had to pause for my loud washing machine again. And this one is following our main character who is in our world, but this time they receive a notification that the end of the world is near and they'll be integrated into the greater universe. And if you've ever read any manhwa similar to this, you know what I'm talking about. And when that happens, he accidentally ends up in the Shadow Realm, Shadowlands or something like that, and which really disrupts his integration into this new world. It's fun, it's a power fantasy, yada yada. And then the last thing I purchased is a pre-order for a book called Reborn as the Fated Villain by X Carnation. I don't remember what it's about, but I feel like the name is kind of giving you the vibes. Like I said, I'm really into lit RPG, and even though they have very similar premises, I really enjoy how different authors interpret this and go from than just that. But I don't have to justify my reading to you. So that was all the digital books that I have purchased, or actually none of these were gifts. So all the digital books that I purchased over the course of the year. Now on to the physical books. If you need a drink of water like I do, now's the time. So, okay, moving on. These are the first 7 books I'm going to show you are books that I have not read yet. And I haven't read them for various reasons. Mostly, like the first 3 or 4 of them are ones that I've only recently purchased in the last week, so it makes sense that I haven't read them yet. But first one first, Escaping Denver by Teague Bolin, and this cover is designed by Sarah Riedlinger. If you're new to my channel, I do like to shout out who the cover designers are, because as a person who is very influenced to buy books by their covers, I think it's important that we appreciate the art that is done by them, especially when it's done by an actual human being. All that to say, I like this cover, it's fun. And the reason I picked this book up is because it is focusing on the Denver International Airport, and as someone who grew up in Denver with DIA being my main airport, I was like, oh my gosh, I have to read this book. This is following a group of internet sleuths, as they're called on the back, as they decide to get a first-hand experience exploring and investigating the mysteries surrounding the Denver International Airport. So they break in one night, and then it says, using the Escaping Denver podcast as a loose guide, this ragtag team discovers that it's not breaking in that's hard, it's getting out. So obviously they encounter something that they were not expecting. So I'm very excited to pick this one up. I'm hoping to do so in January. The next one I have is a book that has been recommended to me by a coworker and friend for over a year now, and I keep telling him I'm going to read it because it seems to be one of his all-time favorite books. I've just been real hesitant because I mostly read lit RPG on ebooks. I don't know what it is about trying to read not anything else on my computer or my phone. I just get really easily distracted. I find it much easier to do physically. So I finally found the physical book, but I didn't want, well, I say found, it's been on shelves, but I didn't want to pay full price for it. Sir, please, please. I didn't want to pay full price for it because I don't tend to enjoy dystopians. So I'm going to give this a chance, but if I don't like it, I'm taking it to the used bookstore. And that is Wool by Hugh Howey. This is the first in the Silos trilogy, question mark? Yes, in the Silo trilogy. There is a show on Apple TV, which is where we get this hideous cover from. Like, why? Anyway, the cover design is by Mark Robinson. The images are from Apple TV. And this book, as far as I know, is about a dystopian where our main characters, question mark, I don't know how many main characters there are in this book, are in a society where everyone lives underground. And they were told at some point that the outside world is dangerous. Either the air is dangerous or there's dangerous creatures outside, I don't know. And based on this being a dystopian, I'm guessing that is not 100% true, or it was true in the past and it's no longer true today, something like that. So I'm gonna be trying to pick this up before the end of winter, so that I can finally give him feedback on this book. And if I like it, I will pick up the rest of these books and maybe pay full price for the better covers. The next one was a complete cover buy. I am not entirely sure what it's about, so I'll read the entire synopsis. And that is B.S. Children by Vladimir Sharov. Here is the cover. And this cover was illustrated by Alexander Smirnov, and the design is by Marie Lane. And the back of this says, at the center of B.S. Children is an ailing Vladimir Lenin, infected not with syphilis, as some historians have claimed, but with Christian fervor. Regressing stroke by stroke to an infancy of his own, he renounces his faith in the proletariat and puts all his hope in the many children left homeless and orphaned by the Civil War. Only they will be loyal to the cause, and only they can save it. Around the story, Sharov weaves two other plots: a murderer who converts a Siberian people to Christianity, and the life story of a female holy fool. Epic in scope and highly original in execution, B.S. Children shows exactly why, since his untimely death in 2018, Vladimir Sharov has been widely celebrated in Russia as one of the few outstanding novelists of his era and a true heir to the classic authors of the 19th century. So this one, like I said, I definitely picked up as a cover buy, and then I read the back and I was like, okay, that seems interesting. So I'm really hoping that I like this one. The next one I picked up is a very popular book. No one's gonna be surprised that I own it. I need to make space on my desk. And that is The Will of the Many by James Islington. This is the first in the Hierarchy series. I don't know how many he's planning to have come out. I know the second one came out earlier this year. I only know because everything's hardcover. Oh, I am not a big fan of hardcovers if I can avoid them. And the cover of this one was designed by Matt Monahan, and the illustration is done by Jamie Jones. And I don't know a ton about this one, and I'm choosing not to know a ton about it. What I do know is that this is a fantasy that has a magic system based on giving up one's will to another person in order to increase their power in some way. I know that there's a school setting of some sort, and it seems to be based on Roman society. So that's what I know about this. One of my close friends has already read this, and she's eager to hear my thoughts because she knows I'm incredibly opinionated. Some might say picky when it comes to the books I read, even if Like, it's not picky in that I think I'm too high class. It's just that I don't like a lot of things and it will make me stop a book very quickly. The next one I have is a book that, once again, was kind of a cover buy. I picked it up because it really looked really interesting, and I do love to pick up things that feel like they're going to differ from my regular reading sometimes. And that is Indigenous Literatures from Micronesia. This one is edited by Evelyn Flores and Emiliter Keeling. And unfortunately, I do not see a cover artist listed, so I cannot credit them. Yeah, the cover art is by Guahan Hugua. Block Mixed Media by Monica Dolores. Oh, so the cover art is a piece called Guahan Hugua. It's Block Mixed Media by Monica Dolores Baza. And this is actually published by University of Hawaii Press. And I mean, this isn't going to be a single type of writing, but what I have been enjoying is the mix between some poetry. There looks like there's going to be some shorter stories, some essays, and I enjoy the artwork on the different sections. So this one I'm eager to pick up. The next one I have is Biography of X by Catherine Lacey. And the design of the book is by Alex Murto, and the photography is by J.K. Lavin. And so, listen, you're gonna hear me say this a lot. I don't know much about this book. What I do know is that this is a fictional biography about an artist, an author, who died unexpectedly, and this is written from the perspective of her wife, who is looking more into her life before their marriage in order to write this biography. And as she digs deeper, she's realizing she might not know her partner as well as she thought she did. For some reason, all of my pets are very talkative today. Which just seems really interesting. I think I'm going to do this as a combination of the audiobook and physical copy. The audiobook is available from my library online on Libby, so I'm eager to pick that up. Iggy, don't bully your sister. The last on my list of books that I have yet to read, we're just gonna leave this alone because I keep trying to fix it and it's just sticking straight out. Will it stay? Probably not. Is Warmth of Other Suns, The Epic Story of America's Great Migration by Isabel Wilkerson. This front photo, the jacket design is by Daniel Rembert, and the photography is spectators watching Negro elks parade from building and street, photographed in 1939 by Bretman and Corbis. This one is a history of the migration of Black Americans from the South from 1915 to 1970, and everything that came with this. I haven't picked this up because I know it's gonna be a heavy read. That's all. Like, I haven't picked this up because I know it's gonna be a heavy read. One of my cousins bought this for me for my birthday this year, and I'm very happy that she bought it for me, and I'm very happy that she's so passionate about this, but I know this is gonna be a heavy read, and considering the state of the US and the greater world at the moment, it was really heavy for me, but I am planning to pick it up because I think it is important that we don't forget history, especially considering how eager they are to get rid of it right now. Oh. Making more space on my desktop. Okay, so that is all the books that I have yet to read that I physically own. Next will be all the books that I have actually, oh wait, there's two more. Sorry, I lied. There's two more. The first is a book I got for Christmas. This is a cookbook on ramen. I don't typically use cookbooks, mostly because I usually just scrounge like a rat out of my kitchen. I'm gonna be honest. I just put random things together and usually they taste pretty good. I'm not even gonna lie. I think Calliope. I'm a pretty good cook, but I am eager to try out some of these recipes. Like, look at them. Don't they look delicious? Unfortunately, I have already looked and I can't find the artist for any of these images. Like they have the full food stylist and they say the design is by James Pope, but is that the design of the entire book or like specific parts of the book? Has James Pope do the illustrations? I don't know. So I'm hoping all of these are done by James Pope or at least a human being, but I'm very excited to pick this up. The other one that I forgot to mention isn't because I haven't read it, it's because I DNF'd it. I made it like a third of the way through this book and realized it just wasn't going to be for me, and that is The 1,000 Deaths of Arthur Ben by Tyler Whitesides. And this cover is designed by Lauren Panepinto and the illustration is by Zen Zweifel. I started this book because it seems so interesting. It is following Arthur Ben, who is the best way to describe it is a con man. They have a specific word they use in the book that's like specific to the world, but he's a con man. And he is hired by this priest to steal something from the king. Yikes. And in order to do that, he has to get a team together. And so he gets the best thief he knows of and his homie who he's been doing all these cons with, and they're going to do a heist. Unfortunately for me, not for anybody else, what I wasn't expecting was a romance in this book, and like I wouldn't even consider it a particularly good romance. Like there is fake dating, but we haven't even gotten to that point yet. They're still in their fucking training montage and it just feels so forced and unnecessary. And I was like, there's no way I can read another few hundred pages of this. Daenerys, you're blocking my light, baby. So this is a DNF for me. I'm planning to it is the first in a trilogy that I obviously will not be continuing. So my plan is to either take it to the Little Free Library or my local used bookstore so someone else can enjoy this, since I will not. So this time, that actually is the last book that I haven't read yet. We're gonna take another break. I'm gonna drink some water. And then we're gonna get into the ones that I have completed. And then we'll be done soon. Okay, I'm back. Hopefully both my pets and my washing machine will let me finish this video. I feel like I've been talking forever. Okay, starting off strong. The first book that I bought this year and have completed is Between Two Fires by Christopher Buehlman. The cover of this one is gorgeous and is not attributed to a single fucking person. So I don't know who did the cover for this. I don't know if it was a person. Hopefully it was. I do like the cover. And this is following an ex-knight, a priest, and a young girl as they travel across medieval France during the time of the Black Death. This is a fantasy horror. It's also been called a medieval horror. That's all I got to say about it. I did not like this book, so I can't recommend it. But I do love the cover, so there's that. The next one I have is Caps Lock by Ruben Pater. He also did the cover design for this book. He is a graphic designer. And the subtitle of this one is How Capitalism Took Hold of Graphic Design and How to Escape from It. And this is a series of essays regarding graphic design, both its history and its current form, as well as its role within the capitalistic structure of the Western world, and how those designs have been used both for and against the people. The next one I have is Butter by Asako Yuzuki. And this cover is designed by Emma Pidsley, and the images are from Getty Images and Shutterstock for the cow and the little blood stain here. And this one is a book following a female news reporter who is the only female in her team, I believe. And she is researching Japan's first convicted female serial killer. This is a fictional narrative that is based on the events of a true story. And in doing so, she begins to spiral a little bit into obsession. And I personally feel like this deals a lot with, like I said, obsession, but also expectations regarding femininity and womanhood within Japan, and as well as one's understanding of oneself and the expectations that you have on yourself and others. I think this was having a lot of discussions, and I enjoyed the ending, but I did not enjoy the actual process of reading this book. So there's that. Oh my god, I lied again. Here's another book that I haven't read yet. So maybe I don't know what I read. Actually, what's really happened is that this is the third time that I've recorded this, because the first time I forgot all my digital books, and then I was going through so I had to go back downstairs, bring all the books back up, and I messed up my stacks. So my bad. Anywho, this one is a history of reading by Stephen Roger Fishers. Is exactly what it says. It's a history of reading. Unfortunately, this does not have an attributable cover designer. I suspect it's because they use a bunch of stock images, and the reason I suspect that is because I'm fairly certain that I and many other people reblogged this exact photo on Tumblr in 2014. So I just don't think that there's much to say about it. But promise, that really is the last book in this stack that I haven't already that I haven't already read. Next is one that is a little beat up despite being pretty new, and that is The Lord of the Rings 1 volume 50th anniversary edition. As you can see, I have already wiped off the entirety of the word The Lord of the Rings on the front and the side. They foiled it, and I guess they didn't put anything over it to keep it from rubbing off. But this is my first time owning and reading the Lord of the Rings trilogy. It was a great time. I'm so happy I purchased this one. I'm glad that I got the 1 edition version, because they flowed really well together. I think if I would have gotten them one by one, I probably would not have read them as quickly as I did. Also, it was cheaper to buy a single book than to buy 3 separate books. Also, I just love a big floppy softcover. What can I say? The next book is a book that I received as a part of my office's book club. So I did not purchase this, and nor was it a gift. It was just a book that I got given to me, and that is The Creative Act by Rick Rubin. And A Way of Being. My boss ranted and raved about this all last year. He was so excited about it. He's like, you gotta read it, you gotta read it. He had me give these as gifts to a few of our clients, and I was just okay. So when it was offered to me for free, I was like, okay, well, I was never gonna spend my money on this book, so I will read it, and it's fine. It's fine. I don't think it's anything groundbreaking, but it's perfectly okay. The next book I have, and the next few books I have here are all going to be nonfiction. So get ready for that. And they're all kind of books about books, or literature in one way or another. And the first one I want to tell you about, and I'm trying to organize these because I feel like some of them kind of relate to one another. So actually, let me just do a quick restacking of these. Yeah, we'll do it this way. So the first one I'm going to show you about is The Dictionary People, the unsung heroes who created the Oxford English Dictionary by Sarah Ogilvie. And the cover for this is designed, the marbling was done by Gemma Lewis, and the illustrations were by Bill Sanderson. Here's the book. And this is a series of essays regarding different people who contributed to the creation of the Oxford English Dictionary, and not the people who compiled everything, but the history of this dictionary and many others at the time was that they put out a call to the public, and they're like, hey, fill out these slips, send them in with words that you commonly see written or commonly used around your area with the definition. And then once they compiled them, they sorted through them, they saw which ones were as common as they thought they were, and then they put them into the dictionary. This was a working of multiple years. I think it took over a decade to complete. Could be lying to you right now. I read this a few months ago. But it's really interesting because it really brings up a lot of different people throughout history that you wouldn't really think of. I know one of the contributors was Karl Marx's daughter, There was also a lesbian couple who had a male pseudonym, and they were actually pretty prolific authors who were kind of respected in the community until it came out that they were, you know, not a man. But for all intents and purposes, they did live a happy, long life. So this was, Callie, you wanna back up? I'm recording. Thank you. So this was actually, please make space, thank you. So that was a very interesting book and I really enjoyed it. I highly recommend if you just like learning little tidbits. The next one I have is called, ow, 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 ow. Oh, a different cat. And a dog. Everyone's decided they need to be directly on me right now. The next one I have is Papyrus, The Invention of Books in the Ancient World by Irene Vallejo. And the cover design of this is by Jenny Caro, and the images of Papyrus Reads are taken from the Universal Images Group and Getty Images. And this book, like many of the others, is exactly what you would expect it to be. This is a, actually, is it? No, this is a series of essays that focus honestly primarily on Egypt and the what was this about? It's like really not sticking in my brain. I did read this. I read this whole book. All I remember is that she talked about the Library of Alexandria a lot. I think I might have to read it again soon, but like it's gone. I have nothing in here about this book, which is maybe not a good sign. The next one I have is The Notebook, A History of Thinking on Paper by Roland Allen. This cover is designed by Louis Gabaldoni. And this is a series of essays regarding different points in history where a notebook played a key part. And I went into this right after a different book that was written by a historian. They're two different things. And so when I initially read this one, I wasn't really vibing with it. But after a few months of like settling with it, I do actually enjoy it for what it is, which is what I would consider pop history, because it is these like pop-ins of different points throughout history in a loosely chronological order. The thing about this one that I really enjoy is that it has some gossip. Like there was this French courtier who ended up going to prison, and they were able to imprison him because he put all his schemes in a notebook that they found at his house. And I'm just like, if you are going to blackmail, and my thing is, if you're going to commit crimes against the crown, and you're going to blackmail your fellow nobles, maybe one, don't humiliate the king in public, and two, don't write all your schemes down in your diary and keep it next to your bed. That's all I'm saying. Anyway, this was fun. This was interesting. I liked it. There's only 4 more books to go, guys, and then we can finally go. The next one is Index, A History of a Bookish Adventure from Medieval Manuscripts to the Digital Age by Dennis Duncan. And this cover is designed by Jason Buher. And this also has one of those stupid permanent stickers. Is, again, the history of the index. And like, as a tool for people to use, which is one of those things that I feel like probably many others don't really think of. It just feels so instinctual that at the back of a book, at least in the Western world, I don't know about other books, but like it just feels so instinctual that at the back of the book, you will have either a glossary or an index or both, if not. And the index is such a common, useful thing in so many different books to help you find specific information that it just feels like obviously it was always there, but that's not the case. In fact, indexes have evolved a lot since the first time they were used, especially because now we have it in such a way that they are very useful for providing information in a larger body of text, but previously they were kind of just like slapdash together, and different people would change them from book to book, and it was based on the specific copy of the book that you had and not necessarily the book. Like, it was just a lot. And obviously the invention of the printing press really helped to standardize things so that the index could really start flourishing. And then as we moved into the digital age, that also evolved things, and it was so cool, so cool. I had a great time with this book. I love the history of stuff. The next one is, I do remember this is one of the very first books I bought in 2025, and honestly loved the hell out of this book. Loved this book down. Yum, 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 yum. This is A Place for Everything, The Curious History of Alphabetical Order by Judith Flanders. And the cover of this, the design is by Chin-Yi Lai, and the cover image is by Pavel Kusmartsev. And first of all, that cover is gorgeous. Second of all, this was such an interesting read. This is written by an actual historian, and I don't want to discount other books that are not written by historians, but you can really see the difference in how the information is organized. Judith Flanders is a historian. Her job is history, and you can tell in the way that she writes, and I really appreciate that. I really appreciate the structure of this book. I really appreciate the asides that come in this book, and I also really appreciate how she acknowledges that she is specifically talking about Western cultures that have an alphabet, because there are a lot of cultures that do not have what we would consider an alphabet. They have obviously a written language, but Japan has 3 different alphabets, and they're not alphabets. They are their own thing that we call alphabets because we do not have an English equivalent to understand. Does that make sense? So anyway, I really appreciate that she acknowledges this, and at the beginning of the book she's like, I'm mostly focusing on these specific areas because that's what makes sense for the book that she's trying to create. All that to say, I really appreciated this, especially because, again, much like the index, it feels like alphabetical order is just like a no-brainer type of organizational strategy for alphabetic languages, but that's not the case. People were really against the use of alphabetical order because they were like, it's too egalitarian. It does not show enough of the hierarchy of society. You can't just be putting the name of kings next to commoners. You can't just be putting God's name anywhere in this fucking, like, no, absolutely not. But also the invention, or not the invention, the slow acceptance of alphabetical order as an organizational tool also made it so that files were a little bit easier to use, like court files and deeds and like letters of ownership and shit like that. Like, if you're gonna live in a capitalist society, these are important things to know because capitalism is all about capital. And if you can't figure out who owns that capital. So this was very interesting, loved it. And then the last 2 books are both by Steve Rusatti, and they are a part of the same series, I guess you'd call them. They're both nonfiction books, but they are my favorites of the entire, these are my favorite books that I've purchased this entire year. I love them so much. The first is The Rise and the Fall of the Dinosaurs, A New History of Their Lost World. The cover is designed by Mumtaz Mustafa, and the illustration is done by Todd Marshall. Here we are. Gorgeous, gorgeous, gorgeous. And the second book, I'm gonna talk about them at the same time because like they're directly related, is The Rise and Reign of the Mammals, A New History from the Shadow of the Dinosaurs to Us. Same cover designer and illustrator. Love these books, love them down bad. So these 2 are exactly what they say. This is the history of the first dinosaurs to their extinction and how that went down, which is actually quite horrifying. And then this is after the extinction of the dinosaurs, and actually a little bit before the extinction of the dinosaurs because mammals have been around for a hot second. But like as they evolved to become the creatures that they are now. There's a land whale in here, guys. There's a land whale. Also, that I learned that there's a specific type of animal that is considered a dinosaur. So a lot of things that we might consider dinosaurs just by looking at them technically would be considered dinosaurs because they don't have a specific, I think it's bone or something like that, or structure in there. I'd have to reread these, and I am planning to reread these in 2026 because I love them so much. But These are great. Highly recommend if you're interested in paleontology at all. One of the things that I love about this book is that you can tell how passionate Steve Brusati is about the field of paleontology. I love things where you can feel the author's palpable like love of their subject. And one of the main criticisms I've seen of these books is that he name drops too much. A lot of people don't like that he's always name dropping. And is it name dropping? Or is it like celebrating the work of his colleagues? Because paleontology isn't like a superstar field. The average person doesn't just know that many paleontologists off their head. So is it name dropping? Especially when we're talking about people who aren't even that famous. Like, even within the world of paleontology, like, he acknowledges that, hey, I didn't make the discovery, my TA made this discovery because she's smart and she can do this. And I feel like it's really important that we not only acknowledge the discoveries that have come out, but we acknowledge how we got there, who came through with this process, and how it's been implemented since it was first discovered. And I think that's cool and important, and I love these books, and I highly recommend, and I'm gonna reread them, and they're so good. That's my rant. Those are all 30 books that I have purchased or was gifted in the year 2025, and I have read the majority of them, and I'm very excited about that. That's 30 books. I think it might have been more than 30 books. I think when I counted the original 30, I was not including most of the digital books. Might be. Either way though, thank you for sticking around. I know this is a very long video, and hopefully this has been posted on the 31st, if not the 1st of the year. And I hope to see you in many more videos. Did any of these interest you? Are you planning to pick any of them up? Are you interested in reading nonfiction about books? Cause it's a pretty good time, if I do say so myself. Or maybe you want to join me in reading lit RPGs. I know that Dungeon Crawler Carl is like really big right now, and I have never read that one, but I'm really hoping that with the popularity of it, we'll get more of these other lit RPGs to be a little bit more mainstream, because I personally would love to get physical copies of a lot of these books that I enjoy, but a lot of them are only sold through Amazon, because that is the most accessible place for them to sell their books, and I would prefer to be able to buy them at my local bookstore. So all that to say, happy 2026. Hopefully you'll be seeing more of me. Bye.